Okay, so I'm getting a little tardy with my video uploads of new music, but again, this is another one that I really wanted to get a good dive in and really feel the music for, and this is one that really demands a thorough listening before you can really have a say with it. So with that being said, let's dive in. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, because I know no matter how I try, I never will. The first solo album by Gleb Kolyadin. I really hope I pronounced that one right. So Gleb is one of the main creative outpours for Iamthemorning. Fantastic indie progressive rock feel. It's the duo between Gleb and Mariana Semkimna. So the two of them, beautiful, beautiful band of Iamthemorning. I love their discography to bits. And so Gleb has finally done his own thing, his own instrumental piece of just self-titled. This was a real treat. He's got on board quite a number of standout musicians to help him out throughout the runtime of this. It is a keyboard and piano led album. It has a lot of great ebb and flows. I love this guy's use of atmosphere to set the stage, and then the on-stage performances of like that piano or keyboard. And it really shows some of the ideas that he's had in the past really brought to fruition here. It starts off beautifully with Insight just being a really big powerhouse, and there's one moment within the keyboards that I still, to this day, I'm trying to place, but it feels like it could have been something from either Fido. Once they switch from the main piano to the keyboards, there's that sequence that it's just like, it's so good and so familiar that I can't help but love. And as I said, he does have a few musical guest appearances. The first one being the Ancestral Architecture with Mick Moss on there, and Mick provides the perfect vocalizations for the type of music that Gleb is playing. It's a little bit more on the hushed side. It's a little bit of a baritone type of a vocals there, and it fits very, very well. And especially with this type of atmosphere, it's very airy but also very dark, and I love that kind of juxtaposition with the airy aspects of the higher notes on the piano, but that really creepy soundscapes within the other sounds that are going on there. And another thing that I just can't help but gush about this album is how the songs interplay with one another. The next couple of songs, White Dawn and Kaleidoscope. I love how White Dawn really sets the stage for Kaleidoscope, and the two songs use the same root within their note sequences, with White Dawn being a little bit slower to introduce you to the idea, and then with Kaleidoscope being that shifting of colors within that same scheme. It's a little bit faster, a little bit more hard-hitting, and I love that ebb and flow. And it's a very smart move within Gleb of placing these songs where they are. When we come into the next couple of songs, the fifth track and then the sixth track of Into the Void, again, it does that same kind of thing. And because they're so short and so punchy, you kind of realize that these songs are divided up. Like when you're listening to it without looking at the track lengths, you think that you're just kind of in a different soundscape of music. And it is a little bit harder to kind of touch stone when there's no real lyrics to kind of help you with the roadmap. And then the finalizations of this being The Room, it provides a great little catalyst for that. So already we've had a couple ebb and flows, with White Dawn and Kaleidoscope, the fifth, sixth, and seventh track kind of being that catch-all, which leads us kind of to one of the main, I guess, midpoints there. I feel like if this was a record, it would end with The Room and then start the next with Confluence. And in Confluence, we have actually Steve Hogarth from Marillion being on here. And this track uses Steve's vocals very, very well. It is a longer piece, so there is a lot of ebb and flows, and Steve's vocals is just on the first half. And of course, I couldn't talk about Confluence without shouting out Gavin Harrison on drums. Gavin was the main driving force within Porcupine Tree for the drums. He also worked with Iamthemorning within their last album, and the midpoint here where it's very somber within Confluence, you have Gavin's fills on there. It just perfectly placed in that sense, especially within that midpoint, and then the song builds up finally to that big crescendo at the end. Now, these next couple of tracks, Constellation, the Ball's ending, oof, creepy as all get out with those choral sounds on there. Jeez, it feels like a ghost story in presence. Echo, Sigh, and Strand being the 10th song, which is strange because even though it's a three-parter song, it's only like 2.5 minutes. And then Primrose Stairs. So these three tracks, even though they are kind of split up all over the place, provide just a Goliath of sound. And Primrose Stairs is probably my favorite piece on this album. It is just so out of this world and so complex in its simplicity, and vice versa. Like, it astounds me every time I listen to it. Now, the last two tracks of The Storyteller. Now, Primrose Stairs does flow into The Storyteller, and that's where Jordan Rudess, the lead keyboardist for Dream Theater, comes in. And I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of this. I've noticed lately when I go back and re-listen to Jordan's playing, he's extremely talented, and like he's as a talent out of the wazoo, but he's very much like a noodly and not a whole lot of grounding work. And so he provides a great noodle, but it does kind of feel a little lackluster when put up against Gleb's very grounded playing. And then The Best of Days, with Steve Hagarth being back on, it feels very much like a Marillion song, like a modern Marillion song, to its detriment, especially with all the music that has come before. A very strange way to end it on such a prominent Steve Hogarth sounding type of a song, because it does feel like it's his song as opposed to Gleb's, and it's a little bit of a shame that it would end on this type of a note when we had such standout tracks that preceded it. So overall, this guy was a fantastic endeavor in music, one that I've been loving quite heavily. It's one of my favorite releases of this year, and one that I continuously come back to. Overall, I have to say this is one that you have to find and pick up in physical format. It's one that, again, I keep coming back to. Even with a few of the missteps, I feel like this is just Gleb's growing style as a solo artist. And his next release, if he continues to do this, I feel is just going to be better for that. So that's about it from me for Gleb Kolyadin's debut solo album. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, let me know by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.
Our footsteps fall on the boards, on the blade.